Right, guys, welcome back to the Network Podcast. This is episode 11, and today we have a very special guest, Mr. Jamie Furlan.
Thanks
Welcome.
for having me. Thank you.
Jamie is breaking his podcasting virginity today.
It's my first podcast. Never listened to one and never done one. What's a podcast?
What am I doing here?
So what is this? Can you explain the format?
What am I doing?
I can't believe that, actually. I'm actually shocked that this is the first time.
Yeah.
You know? Like, especially, right? So, like, now we're coming up to AHFAs again.
Yeah.
Like, basically 1 year after you won Australian Hairdresser of the Year, and nobody's had you on a podcast. What's that all about?
I've got no idea. Like, I think you guys are innovative, and I don't think the hairdressing industry's ever heard of them as well. So,
True.
No, it's a pleasure to have you. Really, really a pleasure to have you. You're definitely one of the people, regardless of winning, you know, Australian Hairdresser or whatever. It's like, we resonate with Jamie. We want to get him on the podcast. We want to hear your story. You know?
I think that's the cool thing. I think, you know, usually we don't want to touch too much on the story, but I think with you we kind of do a little bit because, yeah, there's just not much out there about you, mate. You know?
Oh, thanks.
Bit of an enigma, you know, just hanging
just
around,
fly
hiding,
under the
you know.
radar.
But yeah, so
Love that,
I think
though.
that'll be good.
Love
Yeah,
that.
we actually love that, and that's why we're like, we want to know more about Jamie. Like,
It's mysterious. It's mysterious and nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, take us back a little bit. You know, to I guess, you know, we always like to talk about like pivotal moments in life, and like even before your career. You know, like when you were growing up, like how did you know that you had an interest in hair, or how did that kind of journey start for you?
it was really, it was pretty interesting. I wasn't one for high school, and that normal learning structure, and I went home to my parents. I think I was about 14 or 15 or whatever, and I said to them, I want to leave school and I want to do hairdressing. And I'd briefly done a stint plumbing for a couple of weeks before that, and that didn't work out for me. They actually suggested as well that I should do hair, not plumbing.
Really?
Yeah. So
How did it come to that realization?
I think because I had the gel spikes like really high, and you know it was that sort of time, and
you were the man.
So you liked your hair, like
I like doing my hair,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
and I think they were just giving me a bit of shit. So, and I basically went home and said that I'm thinking of doing this, and Mum sort of said to me like, if you're going to go work anywhere, you need to go speak to Tom Donato at Young Hair, and because they're sort of family friends and stuff like that. So the rest is history. I walked in there, got a haircut off Tom, and walked out with a part-time job, and started pretty much straight away.
Incredible.
so you started with the part-time job, and now you're business partners.
Yep,
That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
So he's seen the whole journey.
the whole journey. I think it's.
You've never worked anywhere else? Or was
When I qualified, I worked in the UK for a couple of years at
Okay.
Headmasters.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah,
Great.
in Fulham, Broadway. Yeah.
How did you decide hair? Like, what was that moment?
To be honest, it wasn't like I loved hair. I just really hated school, so I was happy to sort of like.
But just going
try
home and being like,
anything.
Mum, this is what I want to do.
Yeah,
Like, you just
it just sort of. I think a friend at the time, she was doing hair, and I was like, cool, let's do it together. And she didn't follow through, but I did, and it just sort of. I've really fell in love with hairdressing when I started working in the. You know, it wasn't like I was going out to. You know, I wanted to play in the NBA.
Yeah.
I wanted to be the next Michael Jordan, but didn't get past 5 foot. So
Genetics got you there.
You're taller than that.
5'2".
Yeah.
No, for sure. I think like when I reflect on my story, and Lee's is the same. It's like we're very similar in that way. Like I didn't really know I wanted to do hair until I was in it, and then it's like opens up a whole new world, you know. And then you start discovering, I guess, like through the likes of Tom and people who have been successful, and you're around them, and you know, obviously success in the meaning of the word as it is for you, but it kind of opens your eyes to the opportunities that are available within it, and how it kind of helps form you as a person, I guess, you know.
Yeah.
That's the good thing about hair.
Yeah, it was awesome. Like it was just being a part of a team, and it's sort of everyone was like-minded, and I was hanging out, and they were older than me, and they were showing me the world, and you know what I mean? Like some not so good things, some good things, and just wanted to be around that sort of team, I guess, like that atmosphere. It was just sort of electric. Yeah. And you get quite a strong bond with when you're an apprentice with your seniors and stuff like that. It's pretty cool, and I still look up to them today. Like some of them have left the industry and doing other things, and I met my wife, Danny, there as well. She was an apprentice at the same time as well. So we're both, 16, 15-year-old kids scrubbing the floors and stuff. And
that's mad, isn't it? To
What a
see the
beautiful
journey
story.
now.
yeah, and now we're married and got a kid and
Amazing.
It's crazy.
It's
So
great. Killer
hair
collections
is
together.
kind of started that. Hair was the catalyst to where you're at now with your whole life, I guess.
I think that's something that you talk about a lot, isn't it? How it blends so many mediums together.
Yeah.
Like that's something that I hear you say a lot is like, how it just pulls so many things in life together, the hair industry.
And it's such it's such a non-formal environment.
Yeah.
And for someone who, I didn't like school either, or I wasn't really about it. It's not that I was bad at it. I could have been good at it if I liked it or cared about it, but I didn't care about it. And I think having that awareness early on that it actually doesn't fucking matter. Like, it's just like, okay, whatever.
You can be successful without it. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why, for us, in the education space, it's like when we teach, we don't want to make it super formal. It's important to get certain elements right, but it's the environment that it's delivered in is different. And I think that's the good thing about the salon vibe and the barbershop kind of environment. It's very expressive and relaxed, and you kind of find yourself in them areas, I guess. So from there, I guess. So you said you went to the UK for a few years.
Yeah, so we qualified and we wanted to sort of see the world and all that sort of stuff. So typical Australians, we go straight to London and
So
you went together.
Yeah, we went together.
Incredible.
We didn't resign. We sort of took a leave. What is it? Like a leave of whatever. And because we were always going to go back to the company when we came back. It was never a doubt. We just didn't know how long we were going to stay overseas for. So we did the 2 years there and worked at Headmasters in Fulham Broadway, which was pretty cool. And Zoe Irwin at the time was the creative director, which is one of the big reasons why we wanted to work there. Like Danny and I really admired her and or still admire her. And we got to work closely with her, which was really cool. And it was very different working in the UK as it was to in Australia. So that was really like we're working for a salon that had 20 something salons, and I think now they've got like 50. So it's like a big machine, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it was so different to like a small little company like Ziyang, you know what I mean? So we learn a lot about how business is run and stuff like that. So it was cool.
That's really awesome. Cool. I think that traveling experience, like having the experience of seeing things in a different country, in a different, I guess a different culture and different way of operating really opens your mind up to everything.
Sure did. And I think before that, in terms of our hairdressing ability, we were quite successful and stuff like that with a couple of awards and stuff like that. And I guess my approach to hair was more sort of organic, and working in the UK, really, I sort of went back to like structure. Yeah. And it taught me a lot of structure, like fundamentals and things like that. So it was really cool from being quite freestyle, and then like now I can mash them together, and I feel like I owe it to that type of learning that we got in the UK.
Amazing.
You agree? Yeah.
Oh, 100%. Like, when I was doing my apprenticeship, everything was so structured.
So structured.
I guess the time that I came into it as well, the straight hair thing came in, and like everything just had to be so cleanly sectioned and so tightly blow dried. Everything was just so structured, And that was the thing when I noticed when I came to Australia in 2011, the hair was still quite like on that more organic and natural side. Yeah. Quite a bit more beachy, and people appreciating their textures more, and I feel it's only getting stronger now. It's great. It's really good.
Absolutely. So in terms of pivotal moments in your career so far, like prior to like where you're at right now, like say at what point did it take a turning point and you said to yourself, all right, I'm going to be aiming to be Australian Hairdresser of the Year?
I've always sort of been quite sort of competitive, whether it be like basketball or sports or whatever it is. I'm all in. I'm that type of person, but I'm only sort of competitive against myself. I never really like look at what other people are doing or. So for me, I think it's just been inbuilt. Like if I'm like at the gym or if I'm running or if I'm, it was just something that like I got addicted to photo shoots and. Creativity and stuff like that. And I think for me, a pivotal moment it's sort of ongoing. I'm like, if I'm going to do this, I may as well be good at it, be really good at it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I still don't think that I've hit my straps yet. I feel like I've got a lot of work to do to, I'm still learning every day. And there's so many flaws in my game right now that, you know, I still need to put in a lot of work.
That's exciting though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really exciting. That's the best part.
We talk about that all the time. I want to stay there. I want to stay in that band, you know. I don't really ever want to get to a point where I'm like, right, I feel great at everything, you know. It's like there's something to be said for staying in that lane. Just like knowing that there's always something else.
There's so many other areas.
It's so exciting that way. It's so exciting.
Yeah. So for me, I think it was nice getting Australian Hairdresser of the Year last year and all that. So sometimes I feel like a bit of a fraud, do you know what I mean? Because I'm not perfect in all areas, do you know what I mean? But I don't think you need to be as well. And I think like you got to be a bit easy on yourself sometimes.
I think that's part of it though, that honesty and that humility of it is part of being Australian Hairdresser of the Year, you know, to pass that message on too. You know, I think the wrong message would be I'm perfect at everything. You know, I don't know if that's what we really need right now. You know?
There's no such thing.
There's no such thing.
It's very relatable, like to have someone like yourself as Australian Hairdresser of the Year, you know. To me that makes more sense than to look at something that's like unrealistic or you know, and I would I'd aspire to be like you more than somebody who was saying, oh, I'm perfect and I do everything great and this and this and this.
Because I think in younger years, that's kind of how I've seen it. You know, you see that something so out of reach, and like, oh, I just have to be perfect at everything. They must not do anything wrong, you know? They kind of run with that narrative as well, so. Yeah.
I think, and a lot of the time too, like, you got to be open to taking the criticism as well. Like, a lot of people don't like hearing where they've gone wrong or, you know, but I think if you want to be successful in anything, you got to be willing to take, like if my photographer says that that's not cool or whatever, you take it and you fix it or, you know. You know what I mean? Like a lot of the time people get so, I guess, caught up in themselves that, you know, you miss the big picture, you know.
You push the ego out of the way sometimes.
You have to, you do. There's
Leave that one at the door.
Yeah, 100%. That's something that we're always toying with too, and it's especially in the more educational space. It's like you have to be a student as much as you are a teacher. You know, that's listening more than speaking. You know, it's like 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason.
Yeah, I get in trouble with that all the time.
And it's like, you know, one thing that we always talk about is like having better examples, because not even like the role models. And we touched on this with Jack as well in the last podcast, but I don't even really like the whole word role model because it's like, it's assuming that it's kind of implying that like you're putting on an act, like that that's an act. Whereas like it's living your life by example. And I think, you know, how you kind of use that year or, you know, next week it could be 2 years. Who knows? But how you use that time is important in what message you're spreading as well. And what message are you trying to give to the industry?
I think that's something I've really focused on in the last 12 months after it was like, what are we putting out there? And like, what message are we, me and Danny, we look at ourselves as one brand, you know what I mean? Like that's what we are. And we've always sort of, you know, we grew up with like, you know, want to be as humble as possible, and we give everyone an opportunity. Our team means everything to us, and I think they feel that. Do you know what I mean? And even like working with you guys, like I love what you guys are about. And it's about who you associate yourself with as well. Do you know what I mean? Does it align with our brand? Does this align with your brand? Do you know what I mean? So these are things that I never really thought about until quite recently, really. Just sort of, but I think it helps with that message that you're putting out. Do you know what I mean? Like if your values are the same as my values, then we're going to get along really, really well. Do you know what I mean? We're going to make a difference in this industry.
100%. That we talk a lot about that, getting the values right. Even throughout all things, you know, in the salon culture, in the business culture, everything, getting those values right for the greater good is really important. And then when they align with industry peers, it's even stronger. It's
that's
amazing.
when it's magic. It's so cool.
I think that's what we need to do now. I think there's probably been a little bit in the past of like every man for himself, or every kind of salon for himself, you know. There's all those big names, and then they guys just stay very separate, you know. But I think we need to collaborate a little more and kind of move us on to a new.
There's definitely
new
a shift. Like I think it's, you know, it's definitely, this is where it's going. Do you know what I mean? We were talking about it earlier. So it's exciting. It's exciting times ahead.
So like, how did that feel though? You know, like when they called your name, and obviously it was over.
Yeah, it was a Zoom,
right?
I think.
A Zoom or something. But like, was it as you expected it to be, or was it a bit underwhelming? Was it overwhelming? How did it feel?
I was actually quite calm throughout that day, and as soon as it started like getting closer to that category, I probably will next week as well, is the nerves start kicking in. And it was almost like, I think someone caught it on camera actually, which is, I'm so grateful that they did, because I get to like go back and look at that moment. I was just like shitting myself, like just packing it. I felt like I was in with the shot, which is nice, but you never know what's going to happen. But I just remember, I was squinting like this, and I didn't want to hear. It was sort of like, you know, when you're looking through your eyes at a scary movie. That's exactly how I felt. But and then when they called your name out, it was everything I'd hoped for. It was you can see the moment. I was just like in disbelief.
It was like an emotional moment.
It was massive. It was massive.
It was having the team there with you.
It was that.
And marking it as an occasion type of thing.
Yeah,
you know?
It was everything. Like all the hard work over all the years. Like everyone only sees, I guess, that when you win something, but they don't see how hard you work behind the doors. You know what I mean? Like closed doors. And like I've been grinding for a long time, and you know my mum had seen it, and you know it was pretty nice. It was a special moment.
Well, that's the biggest like accolade you can really take out, isn't it? And it's like it's kind of the acknowledgement too, and like, you know, after all, like you said, the grind. You know, you think back probably in a moment like that to like when you were scrubbing the floors with Danny, and then like, you know, you went to London and you did your time there, and then you came back and you had the Fame Team experience as well.
Well, I was saying before, and congratulations, Lee.
Thanks,
finals for Fame Team. That year really, that 2017 year on the Fame Team really gave me the confidence to sort of go into entering for Australian, and that was massive years. There's some stuff going on at home, and there was some, you know, that we're dealing with, and it gave me the opportunity to sort of focus on something and focus on my career. And I owe everything to the Fame Team. It was so good. And just some of the mentors like Trevor Sorby, some of the things, and how raw and honest he was, like with his story and stuff. Like I hold that with me forever. And
he's been there for a long time, hasn't he?
The man's
what a legend.
Yeah. And it was sick. It was the best thing. And it gave me that confidence. Like I used to struggle with stuff like this. I still struggle a little bit, you know what I mean? And like platform work and all that sort of stuff, and having that belief, am I good enough? Am I, you know? I think a lot of hairdressers do, but that year, that Fame Team year gave me that confidence.
Amazing.
Yeah, for sure. I think like at a certain point, like we are a bit like that sometimes too, where it's like, okay, well, are we really fully confident in what we're doing? But then we're like, okay, we have to just embody the role.
Yeah.
And that's the only time I say like the role thing, because in a way that is a part of our lives, and we can't be imposters in our own mind in that scenario. So it's like, all right, well, embody it. You know, this is who you are. You have a message to share, and I think that's what it's all about in them situations. But sometimes you just need that encouragement.
Yeah,
that's the best thing about Fame Team. You know, like I personally think is just, it does give people the platform, doesn't it? To then go on and do great things. You're probably the best example of that so far.
It really has. It really does. And I was with Mim yesterday, one of my Fame Team members, and the bond you have with your team and stuff like that, you have that forever. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's really special.
Incredible.
No, definitely. So going forward now, like I guess bringing it more to the current day. What's next for Jamie Furlan? What's in the
all new salon, things like that. So at the moment we're working and we're relocating our salon to Smith Street. So that's a big one. I want to take my team there and just do something that we're really proud of. You know what I mean? And in terms of like photographic, I want to do as much of that as possible. I live for that. I love it. So I'll keep entering the awards. Probably get more into an editorial sense. I've really enjoyed that side of it over the last couple of years. But I think the main thing is like really grow my team and just focus on their learning and their development. I've got like 7 staff at the minute, and I just want to see them succeed now. Like like the Carly's and the Zoes and the Crystals and stuff like that. I want to see them with their name in lights too now. So incredible. I think that's what you got to start doing. Once you get to a point, you got to pass the baton on and.
100%. That's kind of what it feels like for us at the academy. It's kind of us doing it in our own way. It only seems right. I feel like it's really important for me at this point in my career. I really need it. I think just the salon work alone is not.
It's not enough.
No. Just in terms. I mean, I've said it on podcasts before. Just in terms of the value that I feel that I can bring. not just in skill, but in mindset as well, you know? Like, I think it's important to be that person, to be that mentor and example for other people coming through.
Do you find, say, like, obviously when you win such a big accolade and you own the salon and you're in a leadership position, right? Like, so how do you find that? How do you find being in a leadership position?
I think I'm not any different to like me at work to me right here, or so I'm pretty much what you see is what you get. I don't really change. I don't have. Everyone says they got a different hat. I got this. I only wear one.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
This is it. Yeah, this one.
But yeah, I don't really cross those together, and probably, sometimes it probably gets me in a bit of trouble because I'm the same person. Like you know. But more often than not, I feel like when I'm with my team, they respect me for being me and like just the way I am, and I work hard in the salon. Like I pick up the broom, I mop the floor. We've been flooded recently. We're working at the bottom of Bieber Academy, so I've been sucking up. I've never knew a water vacuum existed, but I've been sucking up water.
Oh,
like,
we've seen them.
Yeah,
don't worry.
you guys,
We got flooded a couple of times.
Yeah, so it's. I mean, you just get in there and do it, and just one of the team members really. So we don't have any tears or anything like that.
I think that's really nice. Like, you know, it keeps it so relatable as well.
Yeah.
Being a good example like that.
I think if they see you working hard and doing stuff, like I could never tell someone to do something that I was never gonna do myself.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? I feel like
I have that saying, you know, you got to lead from the front. You really do. You know, if you're not willing to do it, how do you expect anyone else around you to do it? It's just the end of the story.
And it's like a culture thing, you know. It's like I feel like we're obviously going through this big issue in the industry now with that great resignation type thing happening, and looking for people to join your team. And it's like, you know, people constantly ask me, like, you know, I'm looking for team members, this and this. And it's like, I always ask why. Like, so why do you need them? And it's like, you know, if your culture isn't developed in a certain way, like, how are you going to attract the right people to be around you? And then when they do come around you, how are you going to behave? Yeah. Are you going to show up as an example, or are you going to show up as a warning sign, you know? Yeah. It's like that type of thing. And like you getting on your knees and sucking water out of the salon as Australian Hairdresser of the Year just shows them, okay, like, this is what I got to do, because like, this is the thing, right? Like we always say as well, you have to work hard. Yeah. Like there's no secrets around it. Like you have to just work hard, and that comes in all shapes, forms and sizes. Like just because you can't be precious enough to think that I'm Australian Hairdresser of the Year, so like you should be doing this for me. You know, like, you can't be that way. It's it doesn't, because really ultimately, you know, it's
that doesn't fly anymore. That's old school. Like
and it's great to have the title, right? Like it's nice to have the title of that, and like you know, we won competitions and we've done this and that, but it doesn't fundamentally change who you are as a person. You know, like whether you won that or not, like Jamie Furlan would still be Jamie Furlan.
Still doing,
you know?
It's, you know, I think now, especially like being in Bieber Academy at the moment, because our space isn't ready yet, it's kind of refreshing. You know, because we're hanging out with the barbering students and stuff like that, and they're coming over and they're having chats and stuff like that, and it's been really kind of nice, and you know, it's humbling as well. Like I was saying to you, I did a $15 haircut the other week because at the front of Bieber Academy, it's got, you know, $15 haircuts, and we got our little banner there, and I did a consultation, like sat down with this girl and gave her a wild haircut, I felt. And then we went to go pay, and I said the price, and she just looked at me like, oh my God. And I was like, I thought it was $15. That's what it says on the sign. And I was like, you're right, 100%. It's $15. It's done. And it felt so good to do that. Yeah. And
sometimes you got to do that though to make yourself.
I didn't realize, it felt so good. And I didn't know, I was like, just made this girl's day. Like it was awesome. We
talk about that a lot. Like obviously we've gone through some like pricing restructures and things like that this year. But like we talk about how good would it be just to charge nothing? Yeah. You know, I feel like sometimes something gets lost in the transaction, you know, when money's involved. Yeah. You imagine if it was just, all right, it's nothing. It's cost nothing today. I've chosen to be here, and I'm going to do this, and we're going to have a great connection. Yeah.
I think there's something to be said there. Like maybe we could, you know, I'm not saying all business owners would hate that, but you know, maybe we can give back or something like that. It felt right. There's definitely something to tap into there.
Yeah. Like I'm kind of in the process of filtering down my days at the shop. Yeah. So now I only do like 2 days. I might do 10, 15 clients a week max. But like I put my prices up by almost double. Yeah. And like, you know, for your clients, that's worrying. Yeah. Because they're like, and like Lee and I always say, this is the cheapest we're ever going to get now.
Yeah.
Like, you can't go back down.
No.
Like, as your time becomes more valuable, the price goes up, right? So, but I've been saying to my clients in the last kind of week or so, I was like, my next pricing increase is going to be to 0. And they're like, what do you mean? It's like, well, in 6 months' time, or in a year's time, when all of the other elements of our business are working to make me enough money, like, that I just need to survive.
I'll just do this for the love of it.
If I want to cut your hair, I'll just cut your hair. I don't need, not because I need the money to cut your hair.
Yeah, that's cool.
You know, and that's why, like, if I want to just cut someone's hair, I'll hang out with them. I'll do something for education. I'll make it purposeful for other people, and we started offering like shadowing as a
I saw that. It's cool
because it's like, you know, we want that to be multi-beneficial. Like, you know, there can be somebody watching, somebody getting the haircuts, enjoying their time. Mm-hmm. You know, they're getting the product that they want.
That's something interesting we try and do as well. Is like how much value can we spread in different directions, you know, because that's value going both ways. And we've had a couple of people sort of be like, screw their nose up and be like, oh, is that going to work? Like, because they feel like it's taken away from the customer's experience.
Yeah.
But then I think you got to just decide what product are you delivering there. You know, again, I've said it before, you know, there's 1,000 ways we could live this life. We've just lived it this way. This is just one. Same with the hairdresser, the customer experience. It can be done that way if your customers are ready for it.
I think they'd be down for it.
And I think if you get the message across right and you're trying to bring value in both ways, because then they could go, oh, but that's your customer. It's like, yeah, but they're paying me X amount. The person behind you shadowing you is essentially paying you more than the person in the chair. You know, it's like you're both my customer here. You're both my client here, and I'm trying to deliver value to you, and for me. Yeah. So it's an interesting concept, hard to get your head around,
But I guess the main point in all of that, between the three of us having our input there, is like, it's not about the money.
No.
You know?
No.
Ultimately, like, you need to make it make sense for your business.
You got overheads. You got, you know, that's what I was saying.
Like we were saying, it doesn't pay the rent to do $15 haircuts every day.
No, it's not viable.
But once in a while, why not?
That fuzzy feeling, I think, was I think giving back, something like that, there's something to be said there. How we can work 100%. That out.
You know what that is? It's like a dissolution of the ego to a degree.
Yeah.
You know, you're kind of letting go of the fact that, like, you know, in that moment you had two choices. You're like, well, I could just be like, no, that's what it was. That's the price. Yeah. And then you can let, like, the ego get in the way and be like, you know, you could have been, I'm Jamie Furlan, like, you know, I'm.
And it makes me laugh saying that.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But
I am me.
But like, that just shows like the relatability and the humility that you have and that's a great example for anybody in the industry, you know, and for your team to see that. Yeah. You know, and to be like, wow, Jamie, like, you know, because they all probably aspire to do great things in hair too, and like, you know, it's showing them that, like, no matter what heights you reach, you're still ultimately the same person, like, fundamentally.
Yeah.
What sort of traits do you look for? Say someone fresh out, like coming, you know, 16, 17, 18, whatever age they are, they want to come and work for you. Like, in this day and age, what are you looking for? Like, is there anything that stands out to you?
To be honest, I just I'm looking for a good person, just like, you know, and just some work ethic, and just someone that's open to being coached. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like right now the team that we've got is the best team we've had in a long time. It's awesome.
Amazing.
Because we all work for each other. Like, we all work hard for each other. Like, if someone's running behind, we'll jump in and help blow dry, or like we you know, and that's the culture we want to build. And you know, we scrap all ego aside, and you know,
incredible.
We all work hard for each other, and you can see it. And clients have commented on it of late as well. Like, we're just all in for each other. Amazing. And that's something. It's hard to build that, because you might have 3 people that are like that, but 2 want to fly solo, and that makes it hard. But at the moment, we've got all in, which is amazing. It's such a good place to be at the minute, and it doesn't happen all the time like that. Sometimes you got to get lucky. Like, I think luck's a big thing. Yeah. You know, and the same thing before, we just saying winning in straight hit. A lot of it's luck too. Yeah. You got to get a bit lucky.
I guess, you know, I've got a funny kind of relationship with luck myself, and, you know, obviously being Irish, luck of the Irish. Yeah. But I kind of like to use the word fortunate there instead, because, like, luck is something that, like, just completely happens without any intention. Like you don't put out any intention into it. But when you're actually, in a roundabout way, then people come to you for a reason.
You put
at
that
particular time.
Yeah.
And, it's kind of putting a little bit of trust back in the universe to a degree. But like what you're trying to say there is totally makes sense, because we talk about that too with area, and it's like it's very fortunate or lucky that like we had the team that we've had up to this point, and it's like trying to now maintain a culture after 5 or 6 years. Very tough. It's a tough exercise. It's actually draining. And it's like if you don't have the right cogs in the system, it's almost like having the weeds in the garden, like you have bad
things are holding you back and you can't get to it.
Everyone has to be in together, like and everyone has got to be clear on the mission and like what you stand for as a brand, I guess.
I guess that's like we were talking about earlier. It's getting harder and harder now, though, isn't it? We're in the age of the specialist and the personal brand, and it's hard to cultivate a team who's all going in the same direction.
It's funny. Like aside, I hear about it from hairdressers all over the place, that people are losing staff and all that sort of stuff, and it's just something that's happening. It's here. Why is it happening? And did we have too much time to think, or what is it? Weren't we happy, or I don't know.
I feel like our industry, I'm kind of very early into my career, but like my mom has had a salon for the last 30 years, and I just feel like it's one of the only industries that doesn't keep up with inflation as much as any other industry, and we kind of act a little bit prehistoric in terms of our approach to like how we innovate our systems, like questioning the blueprint. And I think it's important that we continue to do that. I feel like that's a big issue in terms of attracting the younger generation to work as a hairdresser, because why would they when they can just study crypto and try and make money that way, or they go on OnlyFans and they just flash their body and make money. It's like why would you want to stand behind the chair and scrub the floors and do that kind of stuff? It's a difficult one.
And I think that's really nice, the way that you kind of explained it, that culture and getting people on the same journey. I think that's how we've got to incentivize it to people. I think what we've done, and I don't know if it's through the TAFE system or what's happened, but we've monetized it down so much to like money. This haircut will get you this amount of money. You do this in a week, and this is what you're going to make. I think that's what's happened to our industry. I had a conversation with a client the other day. His mate usually cuts his hair from home, and he said, my boy, he hates working in the salon. He makes loads of money at home and this, that. And I was like, how, and I was telling him a bit about our journey and what we do and the value we try to bring. And he said, how would you get him to come back into the salon? And I said, well, it depends how he's motivated. If he's only motivated by money, there's no way. I can't get him back in the salon. But if he wants something more, then I've got an approach for him, a kind of common goal and a culture and growing as human beings and where we can take everything. So maybe that's how we re-incentivize it to the youngsters.
I agree with you.
And maybe, it's kind of like the guys like yourself and us, I think this is where I love now being able to put out the work that we put out. It's showing people what we can do. As a human being, there's more arms to you than you're just a hair cutter. Even like this, the podcast that we're doing today, it's another form of media and creativity. Just showing people, look, essentially some people look at us and go, you're just barbers, but it's like there's more to the human. And I just love what you're saying now. I think your power is nurturing the human and keeping it relatable.
And I think that's where we have to go with it. Like, just grow your team and show them the side of hairdressing, why we fell in love with it from the first place. I think this year we've been locked down so much that we've forgotten about all the awesome stuff that we can be doing. Do you know what I mean? All the editorials, all of like the shows, all of the, it's such a cool industry. And I feel like people have forgotten about it.
It's not really sold like that either. Like, I don't feel like it's sold like that, I sit in on a lot of RTO meetings and stuff like that, and I just sometimes feel like they're missing the point, of why would somebody want to come into our industry? And it comes back to like good leadership, better examples. I think we have to be better to attract people. Like, we have to look at ourselves. We have to be honest with ourselves, and we're like, what message am I putting out there?
what's our brand? You know, and I think if you're not holding on to staff, I think you have to look at yourself in the mirror at the end of the day. Like, it's hard to say, but like there's something's not working here.
I totally agree.
You know, and no one wants to do that. Like, it's hard to do that.
And that I think limits a lot of people on change in general. Change is painful, isn't it? You know, like it's hard to look. It is painful to look yourself in the mirror and go, maybe it's me.
Yeah,
you know?
And
it's painful to do.
Over my journey, I've been there. I've had whole teams leave over my period, like where it's just been me, Danny, and like one other person.
Yeah,
and we're like, I think we've rebuilt 5 times. Like, people don't see that. Like,
I love the Gary Vee approach. Did you watch Gary Vee at all on YouTube? Amazing. He's a digital media sort of entrepreneur in America, but he's got a stat over about 300 people working for him, and he's like, everything is my fault. Everything. He was like, I hired them, I put them in the position, I let them do what they do, you know. And he's like, I've lived my life to now to be the example to them that they now are. He was like, everything's my fault. So but that's like radical. That's extreme. The extreme end of being like, you know, looking yourself in the mirror. But like, it's powerful. It's such a important exercise.
Yeah,
I think in our industry we undersell ourselves a lot in terms of the value that we bring, and like I think looking past just our skills as hairdressers or barbers, and it's the impact we can make. And when I've been in those meetings and they're looking to solve the problem of having more people join the industry, it's like, well, what are you showing them? What are they saying? What are you trying to inspire them with? And like and it's not to just plug us as a business, but I was like, we need to go and talk to these barber students. They need to hear about our story. And hairdressing, like people who are getting into hairdressing, they need to hear about your story. And like, why do you get up in the morning? Like, why are you getting up in the morning to go and spend your time with that team? No matter how much money you give somebody, if it's like, if someone's getting $1,000 a week or they're getting $2,000 a week, if they're getting $2,000 a week to like be in a shit environment, they're not going to want to stay in that environment.
And that's the thing. Like, all this stuff aside, like, I wake up every day and I love going to work with my team.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Incredible.
And that's the best. Incredible. Like, that's living right there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Sometimes
and it doesn't matter where I'm working out of, whether I'm in Bieber Academy or where I'm here. It's like,
it's the people.
I get to like that. It's the people, and it's not the 4 walls around you. Do you know what I mean? It's like I seriously do. I adore everyone in my shop.
Amazing.
You know what I mean?
Amazing.
And I think they feel that too. You know, and when they feel that, you know, that's 100%. When they'll work for you, and they'll work hard for you, and you work hard for them, and
it's a 2-way street, isn't it? And
it's so.
I think it's remembering the human side of things. You know, like it's the connecting to the humans, and like understanding that they're more important than the machine.
Yeah.
Because without them, the machine doesn't operate.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's where it gets a bit kind of misconstrued a little bit. And we spoke about that with Jack, and it's like a lot of the time when people own a business, they don't really understand that they're becoming a leader. Like they're now stepping into a leadership position, and you don't sign up for that when you start a business. You're just thinking, I just want to make more money for myself.
Yeah.
But then you realize, okay, I've actually got to be a good leader here and show up as a good example. And that can be very overwhelming. And a lot of the time, you know, working off the old systems, and I don't know if you agree with this, this is a very interesting kind of way of thinking. That old apprenticeship system where, you know, people have had bad bosses. I'm pretty sure anybody who's been in the industry for longer than 10 years has had one shit experience at a salon, you know, has to have.
Oh, yeah.
And you're made scrub the floors, you're talked like you're a piece of shit, you know. And it's all just generational trauma that's just passed on, you know, like, and they don't solve the problem. They don't stop it here. You know, it's almost like somebody's, if you're related to life, it's like somebody's dad beat them up or something, and they just pass it on to their son.
The next.
And then their son passes it on to the next. It's like, where does that end? And I think COVID might have been like the fucking finish line for that kind of shit.
Yeah.
And now we're moving into a new space, new industry going forward. I think it's time to start thinking outside of the parameters that worked before. Because what happened before, we're actually in a different world now. I don't know if anyone realizes it fully yet, but we're operating in a different landscape going forward out of COVID. And it's about keeping it's more than just numbers now, because money is just numbers on a screen, really. It's the connection. It's like, you know, I remember the early days of Area. It was just the excitement and to go to work and to be there and to see the work around me happening, and like the boys doing these haircuts, and it was exciting. And somewhere along the line that kind of got a bit lost, just to be totally honest. You know, and like maybe it's because of me, like I've developed as a person the environment changed, the world changed. And like, it's important for us as leaders now. Like now I've grown to that leadership position, and it's like, okay, well, now it's about like, maybe it's time to move on to something else. You know, like at a certain point, it's just maybe that's time.
To make that okay as well. Yeah, it's really interesting like that. But I think something else as well, like touching on the apprenticeship thing. I mean, I went through the traditional apprenticeship thing. It's almost like you just need to it needs totally reinventing, you know. I think there's something to be said for going through the hard yards. If someone doesn't have a bit of work ethic, you know, maybe you can teach a little bit of work ethic into them. But there's something to be said for those years done. And I say it to the lads at work all the time who've been only doing it 2-3 years. And I say, look, the best thing I could have ever done is just enjoy and just strapping in for the journey. You know, I say that to them, and they kind of want to get to what me and Owen are doing. You know, next week they're like, oh, I just want to be like you, just want to be like you. It's like, dude, it might take you 10 years, you know. It took me 10 years to really get to a point where I kind of started to feel like, all right, I'm making some ground here, you know. And I was like, look, the best, most freeing thing you can do, if you're really about hair, strap in and enjoy the journey. Because then
it doesn't have to take them 10 years though. That's the thing. If they really tune into it, the 10 years it took for us could take them 2 years.
They could fly through.
You know, if they applied themselves in a certain way, about showing up like that.
I think the next step, for particularly people in our circle, is like, it's just a mindset shift. I think if they freed the mind like that, things would just happen way faster for them. They start to see all the different opportunities and go, you know what? Maybe I'll just stop the pressure here so much and look at this, look at that. And then it just grows as a human, grows as a professional. And I think that's kind of where I see it going, for sure. I think the kind of apprenticeship model maybe needs to just be re-looked at a little bit.
Yeah, it should be, like, I think the whole nurturing thing, and I think connection, I think that was the key word there I took from that, is that if you want success now, it's connection.
Is that what success means to you? Like, is that?
I think so. I think so.
How would you define it? Like, how would you define
I'm not
it?
money driven. I'm not, you know, which is probably why.
That's why that's why we do hair.
You do $15 haircut.
Can I get one of them? Yes. No, it's never been something that's driven. But now, obviously, with a kid and a wife and a mortgage, like, it's definitely something that I need to have in the background. But it's definitely the connection. Like, I think that's success to me, I reckon.
Yeah.
How does the family life tie into your professional career now? Like, is it changed anything?
It's like I always say, the best job in the world, like, is being a father to my daughter. She's just like incredible, the best thing ever. And I feel guilty for saying that. You know, the last 2 years of being in lockdowns, I kind of like love the quality time I've got with her, because there's no way that we'd be home as a family in a normal sort of like structure. So,
and that's such a beautiful thing.
I watched her grow up, like, the last 2 years.
Again, putting the human first, isn't it?
Yeah,
you know?
And I think that's where my mind shifted. It's like, okay, we need to adjust these hours. We don't do late nights. We do, the latest night we do is 7:30.
Beautiful.
Because family is important.
What's more important?
Exactly.
That's really actually quite deep. You know,
Do you know
like,
what I
and
mean?
it's good. Like, that's the beauty of lockdown. Like, it really taught us that stuff and what's important. And
it's going to be hard. You can't go back from that now. Like, that's our value.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Once your values change like that, how can you go?
And
back
we want
against
our team to go home and have dinner with their partners or whatnot. You know what I mean? And you know, like,
Is that, and that's exactly it. You know, trying to be a good human and nurture good humans.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine taking that from someone, you know. That's just going exactly against what I say I'm trying to do. So
we've been foot soldiers for so long in our industry, and I think like that exploitation type of mindset it has to change somewhere along the line.
I don't think you need to bust your gut like 12 hours a day or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? In that, and I'm probably like, there'll probably be a lot of business owners that won't like hearing that, but like, how greedy do we need to be? Like. Do you know what I mean? Like, as long as you can cover your, you know, things in.
But that's where the resentment starts from, like, your team members, is if when they can't spend that time with their family. It's
important.
And it starts with you. Like, imagine you're at work until 9 and 10 p.m. and you're thinking about your daughter.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's not, there's more important things in life, and for sure.
At the start, it's, you know, you see the wave, you know, at the start, it's like, all right, got something to prove. We're going to work so hard. And then it's like, once you hit that kind of peak, it's like, oh, what now?
Yeah.
I'm not really enjoying this anymore.
Something definitely shifted the last, like, through this, like, last 12 months, like, our mindset towards things. And I think, connection, and just, you know, family time. You don't get those years back.
No,
do you know what I mean?
No,
you don't. Like, she's 3 now. It's like, it's nuts.
Yeah.
Like, you don't get that.
Just have to have another one, mate.
Yeah. So
Get some time back.
But yeah, no, I'm totally like, I'm thinking about my future now in that regard, right? Like, I'm 28 now, and like, I'd love to have a baby before I'm 30 or like around 31, and like, I'm working really hard now. So
to put that foundation.
That's going to be my number one. Like, when I'm a dad, like, that's my number one thing.
Yeah.
Before anything. Like, that's what I need to be prioritizing.
Yeah.
So like, if that means I have to work extra hard now,
Then you do it.
yeah.
I think that's where that generational trauma stops, though, with our age group. You know, I think for me, honestly, love my dad to pieces, love the way they brought me up. But the one thing I would disagree with what they said, they told me work comes before everything. And I would question that now.
But that's what they've been told.
That's what they were told. And so to me, I'm still dealing with it to this day. Like, that's there in my head. Work comes before everything. You know, has it gotten in the way of relationships? I think it has. You know, does it get in the way of friendships? I think it does. Because my value system is tied up in the work and being good at what you do and this, that, the other. And for me, I always say now, I'd go the other way. I'd love to be a stay-at-home dad one day. Imagine that, like, completely flip it, you know? Just be like...
You know what it is? It's like, I think, like, getting back to what you were saying a second ago, Jamie, about like most salon owners won't like to hear that being said, but I think, you know, too many salon owners just play the short game. They're just thinking about the money this week and next week, and they're not thinking about the long game. And if you flip that mindset to like thinking about the future and building a better culture and a team that, you know, feel like you value them
in a weird way,
yeah, it comes back around. It's putting them first, putting the important things first. Work doesn't come first. Like, your family comes first. Obviously, if they don't take the piss, you know what I mean. But like,
yeah, I mean, and something that's super important that I learned from my father's generation and all that was the work ethic. I think that's something that they must be, like, they work their asses off. He's got hands like fingers like a sausage. Like, they just got those, you know what I mean? We've got like penis fingers, but but the work ethic.
We're just gonna cut that part out and just use it over and over again.
Penis fingers, penis.
Oh, speak for yourself.
Penis.
Speak for yourself, bro.
You did it. You just did me wrong. Fuck. That's going to be on the bloopers for sure.
When you win next week.
Yeah. Penis fingers.
I'm going to say it's AHFA.
Well done, penis fingers.
Well done.
Anyway.
What's the secret?
I lost my
penis fingers.
I lost my train of thought.
Oh, you were saying about your dad's generation.
Yeah,
the
so
work
that work
ethic.
ethic. That work ethic is something that, you know, I guess that's instilled in me. But it's you got to find, like, you got to learn from the old. You know what I mean? Take what they've done, but we can shift it a little bit. You know what I mean? We still have to say, we have to be grateful for what they've given us. Like,
100%.
like they worked their asses off so that, you know, we could, you know, set us up in a house and all that sort of stuff. And I want that as well. Like, it's funny. We want to give them some of this, but we want to show them some of the new as well. And I think that's where we're going to have that shift. Do you know what I mean?
It's something we pride ourselves on a lot, is like repackaging that model and that idea, you know. And I think we've proved it to ourselves. Like, we're hardworking dudes. Like, you know, I don't think we need to prove that to ourselves anymore. You know, it's never going to be a case of like not pulling our weight. You know?
No,
it's like,
you guys are working 7 days a week. We're doing this, doing, you know, like,
it's actually not that impressive anymore. Like, when somebody tells me like that they've done like 100 haircuts in a week, I'm like, I poor you. Like,
you're like,
you go, oh, really?
I'm like, oh, that sounds awful. You know, they're expecting a trophy for it, you know, but it's like, it's not about that. It's about the quality of how you spend your time and your days. And I think that's your moments, right? Like, picking your moments and understanding where your value scale is. You know, like, what comes first. You know, like, does spending time with your daughter come first? Of course it does. And I think that's where, like, our generation has a responsibility now to, like, utilize the amount of information that we have available to us at such an such easily accessible information, right? Like, that our parents didn't have. So that's why I say, like, our parents would have been like, work comes before everything. Like, in that generation, that's what they were told. They didn't have the information or the access to the information. Like, they didn't have all these documentaries on Netflix. They didn't have people questioning the blueprint, you know.
No one did.
All these metrics and stats on mental health and physical health and detrimental effects of this and that, you know.
But it's like, are we going to continue to ignore it, or are we going to do something about it? And, you know, we can only offer like help in our own field, right? Like we can't. It's like the whole thing, who said it, Lee? It was about the climate change thing. It was Mo Gaudat, wasn't it?
Mo Gaudat,
yeah. It's like, look, we can all agree that climate change is a bad thing, right? Like, but I'm not going to lose sleep over it because I can't change it. But I can do my part for it as long as I do. There's experts out there working on their thing. So I feel like, you know, in our position, in our industry, you know, we have platforms. Everyone has a platform these days, whether you're at apprentice level or entry level or you're Australian Hairdresser of the Year. You have a platform, your message is important, and how you deliver it and how you show up as an example, I think is important. And yeah, I think there's a lot of power in the conversation, even like saying that to people who are listening. I think a lot of salon owners who would aspire to be like Jamie Furlan, like, you know, they should listen to that and take it on board and not just think about the numbers and the money. It's about the connection. It's about the team. It's about what legacy you're leaving behind, you know?
Yeah.
That's the long game. When you think about long game, I think legacy, you know, like we want to leave legacy, you know, like we want to say, oh, area, those were the guys who changed the industry, you know, for better.
For the left it for the better, yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. I think as well, like, I don't, at the moment, don't have to deal with the numbers side of things. So it's very easy for me to say what I've said. But obviously, like, you also need someone that can do the numbers as well, that you trust as well. So that, I think if anyone listening to this, you know, like everything I've said is from my experience, but like, you know, if you don't know numbers, like numbers are super important. Otherwise, you won't have a business. Yeah. And that's why I've got partners and stuff like that take care of that as well. But yeah, I just think we can blur those lines a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. No, definitely. I think it's very important, and just putting them human things at the head, the front and center, and like
that's it. I feel like if we focus on the connection, like we said earlier, like, and all that sort of stuff, the money follows. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And all that sort of stuff, all the you know, all the cream, really.
So that's the success.
I think so.
That's the answer to that question.
I think so.
Yeah, but it is. It is. And like, I mean, look, it's a thing of trying to figure out, like, I think when you don't have money, you think that money is going to be the solution to the problems, but it's not. It's how you spend every day. Like, wanting to go to work with that team, wanting to be, it's how you spend your moments, because that's what really counts. You know?
And that was like lockdown for me. You know, I've said it almost on every podcast now. There were some really like bad, not bad, terrible moments, but like, you know, some unfortunate things happened throughout lockdown for me. But I enjoyed every day. Honestly, it's net positive coming out the other side. I could design my days how I wanted to. Gave myself time to think, exercise, see the sunrise. Do the work that I wanted to do, get as creative as I wanted to. You know, all that kind of stuff. So. Yeah,
I think it's so easy to look at that situation as like a negative, and for a lot of people it was. For a lot of people, there was some shocking stories that I've heard. Yeah. But I think, I don't know, maybe you should just try and sort of look for the positives in everything. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, you have to, otherwise it's so depressing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to just give up, like, and you kind of have to almost not give up in that regard.
Yeah.
You got to kind of give in to the universe and just be like, you know what, this is all supposed to happen.
Yeah, you can go two ways. You can exercise every day, or you can eat chips every day.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Or you can, do you know what I mean? So you've got to, a choice. You got a choice, but it's like how you sort of deal with it. You know what I mean? And
it's tough as well where your values lay as well. You know, I guess a lot of that's like generational too, generational values and things like that. Look at our industry. I mean, I just don't think the physical value's been valued, and the physical element's been valued enough, you know, especially looking after our bodies and our posture and stuff like that. You know, we've just been hammered over the years. There's a lot of older hairdressers out there with hike shoulders and, you know, wrecked hips and all that kind of stuff. So
I feel like we're just so mentally drained though, like, and emotionally, because it taps into all of the feelings. Our industry is like, you're mentally, emotionally, physically, financially, everything. You're just drained in all areas. So to actually put the effort into that is hard sometimes, you know.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I noticed, I don't know, for you guys, like some of the clients that have been coming in with some heavy shit, like, you know what I mean? Like, and I think I used to take a lot of it on, like, and then someone said to me a long time ago, you got to pass the ball, because otherwise you come home and you're just like, you're so heavy, like with so much you know, so much, you know. So I think that's something that we can educate our staff as well, is how to pass the ball, so to speak. Like, don't take everyone's stuff on. Do you know what I mean? Because otherwise you get resentment in the industry. You're like, everyone's always coming to me and complaining, everyone's da.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So like, I think we have to prepare people for what they're gonna hear and shit. You know what I mean? Like,
I've had that real bad, like about 10 years into my career, it was almost a bit of a crisis. You know, I thought, oh shit, there were a few things that I realized. I realized that I got good at giving everybody exactly what they wanted.
Yeah.
Never really did anything that I wanted. You know, I got, and then the other thing was taking on everything. Like you said, you just feel so heavy with all of this stuff, and you can't help everybody.
Some of it you do, you can't pass that ball on. But like,
and something that I love that one. I love that one. I read a book on I think it was empathy, or it might have been intuition. There was a section in it on empathy, and it was a clairvoyant was the author, and they were talking about almost bringing in your energy field. Sometimes if you're like too way open, you can take in everybody's stuff, and so the practice was make it an inch around you, and not much can get into that inch. You know, that really worked for me. Or like zipping up a jacket, or like jumping in a jar. You know,
it's like putting up the glass. It's like I always think about it, like, you know, you need to hear people, but you can't let it seep in. It's like the birds going in one ear and out the other.
That would have been great advice.
You need to put that glass barrier up and be like, no matter what this person says to me or tells me, even if it's like people giving you advice on your situation, it's like, that can't affect how I'm going to act going forward. Yeah. Still do you, you know?
Yeah.
And I think the thing was, for me, was I never had anyone in my life to that point. You know, it took me to read a book to get the confirmation that was okay to do. You know, like I never really had a coach or a mentor or somebody in my life to say, look, this is how you deal with those situations.
Because that's the thing. They don't teach that in apprenticeships. They don't teach that. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's something that I think has to change as well, is like we have to prepare these people for what they're going to hear.
Yeah. And that was a pivotal moment for me. And like, I think even now, I'm changing my approach to that all the time, but I'm coming at it now of a place of like, I need to be a good example here. You know, almost like embodying that role of like leadership. I'm like, okay, there's been a few like things that have cropped up in my life lately and different interactions. It's like, okay, I'm looking at it from a leadership point of view. I'm like, there might be something going on environmentally for that person that's made them react this way. Their clan might be right, or their environment. So I'm going to lead from the front and be that example. That would not have been the way I would have done it, you know, 5, 6, 7 years ago. You know, I would have gotten all in the feels about it and been like, oh, what do I do? Blah, blah, blah.
That's the thing too. There's two sides to the story, sort of thing.
Yeah. So
where they're coming from.
It's amazing to keep sort of growing through that. But
all right, we'll turn the page. We'll move on to a new chapter. Where do you like draw your inspiration from? Say for like, we'll talk about it first and foremost as like you know, in your work and in your photographic work, and then like just in your life as well. You know, like what gets you out of bed in the morning?
All right. So for my work, where I get my inspiration from, like say I'm putting together a collection or I'm shooting or something like that. I've just basically, for a 12-month period, I screenshot things like everyone does, and I just basically I sit down with Andrew and I sit down with Danny, and we all do the same thing, and we just sort of cull images and stuff like that, and we're sort of left with, I guess, a vibe or something that we're into. But it's just basically that. It's not as glorious as, you know, it's going to sound. It's just basically stuff that we're into, what catches our eye, and then we just cull away, and then we start working on it. Like 6 months prior, we start like, you know, building things and making things happen. And I think a little bit of it is your aesthetic naturally. Like we sort of like like, I guess I wouldn't say it. For Danny and I, we want things to look beautiful, but there's still like there's an element of hardness to it as well. But beauty at the end of the day is like the most important thing. So we're still sort of, you know, we've got our aesthetic, we work with that, and basically just cull images, and it's not really too glamorous, and
that's good.
That's something I really like about your work. Your work is like there's still a rawness about it.
Yeah,
there's a realness and a rawness about it. And I remember I watched all the judges talk about the collections, and Akin Konitsi spoke about your collection, and then he said that there was the right amount of everything. There was a right amount of like creativity, the right amount of like, you know, editorial, but then there was a realness and a rawness to it, and a like a commercial sort of vibe to it as well. He said there was just the right amount. He said I could see that haircut in the salon. You know?
And I think that when you've done it for so many years, you do develop, like you guys have an aesthetic. Like everyone's got their own aesthetic, and I think you just be true to that. And it's evolved over the years, and it's just sort of where we're at. So what we screen grab is sort of our vibe anyway. Do you know what I mean? It's unique to you, but it might not be to you, and that's fine. Do you know what I mean? I think whenever you're putting together a collection, you have to understand that there's like 6 to 12 judges that have different. So you need to be broad.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like you can't just do your bag.
No.
You've got to like.
And that's the thing. I think like you got to play the game a little bit too, don't you? You know, a little bit like. Yeah,
absolutely. I think you got to tick every sort of box. Do you know what I mean? But it still has to flow as well, which is really important. I think that's the great thing with working with Andrew, that I rocked up probably 4 or 5 years ago to shoot with him, and I said to him, I'm after a mentorship. I want to learn. Like I want you to like teach me stuff. And he was great, and we pick up the phone very regularly and have conversations about stuff. And I owe a lot to him because he really sort of took me and Danny under his wing, and he sort of showed us what it takes to build like winning collections, and again was brutally honest when we weren't hitting the mark, and and you have to go and work. You have to work hard. Like, do you know what I mean? And you don't want to rock up to an Andrew shoot not prepared.
100%.
You just don't do that. You just don't do that.
It's you're doing yourself an injustice there. First of all, from a financial standpoint. Second of all, just from
be prepared, like
for everything. I think that's a great message for anyone listening that's looking to get into doing that type of work or expanding in their hair career. You have to seek out those mentors.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, you have to be mentorable.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the thing. You have to be able to be, you just got to be real. And I think that's all the people want. Like, you just be you.
I think I take it the best that way. If you're just blunt with me, that's the best. I'm the best that way. But that's obviously not everybody's like that. You need to package it up differently to different people. But I try to look at why I don't like people who dance around the subject with me. If I've done something, just tell me, and I'll do my best to do it well. But I think that's just an upbringing thing as well. It's like. Just that get on with it mentality,
Absolutely.
And I like it when I like that like tough love approach. I enjoy that. But then, I think for me, as a leader now, I need to learn the other approaches for other people. Because not everybody takes it that way.
No,
receives it.
No. Yeah. But I think when you go to someone and you say, they can package it however they want.
Exactly.
Like they can,
and I think. There's there's a level of excellence, and sometimes to get to a level of excellence, you just have to toughen up sometimes.
It's the excellence plus the effort that someone puts in, and it's like sometimes somebody putting in maximum effort doesn't reach your level of excellence on your scale, or it might go above it. It's just it's the effort level I feel like has to be put into from that side
with everything that you do, let's just put this on record. Andrew is the nicest guy, so he'd never yell at anyone. But it's more like you don't want to disappoint.
No.
And that for me, that's worse. I wish you would yell at me because, do you know what I mean? Like disappointment, if you're disappointed in me, that's the worst. That affects me worse than someone yelling at me.
And that's
if your mum goes to you, I'm disappointed in you, that's like, fuck, just slap me.
I know. That's like, that's a sign of a good leader in his position too, because if you look at like say successful football teams like Alex Ferguson was like that. Obviously he would shout at the players, but they were more scared about disappointing him than like actually like him getting angry. It's because the disappointment is something that lasts. It's like anger is a moment, but disappointment lasts.
It sure does.
And it's like it's hard to turn that back around. If you're disappointed with somebody about something, it's fucking hard to get rid of it. Like
it's so hard to reverse. Can't really reverse.
It's almost like a first impressions thing, It's like they're in the same bracket. Like first impressions last, and they're hard to kind of change. Disappointment is the same. When you're disappointed in somebody, and you're deeply disappointed with them.
That's
it's
bad.
like, oh.
That's like you're not in bed for the next 2 weeks. You're on the couch. Like,
and then you don't want to be that person, you know, like,
Yeah.
and I think something that I hear from a lot of people say, like yourself now, I hear it in what you're saying, it's coming back to the start, is like, you don't want to be that disappointment for yourself. So you're in competition with you more than anyone. And Lee and I are very like that. Like, I just don't want to be that. I don't want to look back and be like, I wish I just did that extra day. Or, you know.
I think there's an overriding thing for me. Like when we were talking about values earlier, you know, an overriding value for me is effort, and I love that you brought effort up, because different people have asked me lately, you know, what's something that you look for in someone, and something that overrides everything for me is effort. Because it covers all your bases. If you're just putting effort into most things that you do, you know,
you're fine.
You're doing all right, and like it just, I think it makes for a great human being.
Like, you know, if you put
100%.
all of your effort into creating your collection, and you know you didn't win, but you knew you put everything in and you were proud of it,
that sits with
then
me.
you've
That's
won
fine.
already.
And that's what I sort of feel like. I leave no stone unturned. Like when it comes to shooting, we work tirelessly, and hopefully, like if it gets across the line, it's amazing. But at the end of the day, like if you're competing against yourself, you know, and you do the best thing, like I feel like this collection's better than last year's collection. Whether it wins or not, it's fine, but that's growth, that's progression, like, and that's all you can ask for. Do you know what I mean? So
I think something in
the
there as
trophy's
well.
nice, but you can't think like that. You can't think about that because it's just ridiculous. Like,
If that's what you let define you, like, then you're kind of fucked anyway.
You just want to get better every year. Like you want to be a better version of you. You want to be better creatively. You want to do better hair. You want to be a better father. You know, we want to do everything. Like
Progression of life, like developing as a person. Showing up as a better you, like having a sounder mind, you know, being more at peace with yourself. I think that's all the things that I want, like going forward in my life.
It clears space for focus and sort of really.
What do you like to do in your spare time? Like, do you have anything that you like to do to kind of unwind?
I like podcasts now. I'm going to do podcasts.
It's fun, isn't it?
It's actually good. No, I'm joking.
We said to Jack, we need house guests, so like,
This is
come
cool.
back whenever.
This is cool. What do? I just hang out with the little one.
Well, look, takes it.
That's pretty cool. So, you know, I like exercise as well. So she comes to the gym with me on Mondays and plays around there. And but really, I'm a bit of a homebody. Like I like just hanging out. You know, I don't. I didn't mind sort of being at home. Going for walks, just pretty boring, really. But at the moment, like I've got a few projects on and things like that, so it takes a lot of the mental space. So
a few side hustles and stuff.
A few things going on. So it's always good.
It's always good to kind of have that, you know, like in mind, and it kind of keeps you moving towards the future too. Like you know, I think like your kind of hobbies, like this is one thing that I kind of struggle with, you know, like for a long time I convinced myself that hair was like kind of like my hobby as well. But like it's trying to find other ways to distract yourself so that you can be your best self when you are in that kind of position, you know. And I think for me, honestly, like I'm just working towards having a kid. Like that's kind of what I'm working towards.
It's so cool.
And like because I know that when I have that is going to be my ultimate disconnection from this. You know, right now it's like busy. You know, like busy
This
in
is
here.
your kid right now. You know, this is like a child right now.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Well, that's it. You're building
on.
something right now. So
it's like there has to be some sort of escape plan. You know, like when anyone who builds a really good business, it's almost like
need to know.
At what point, where's the escape plan? You know, like because you can't cut hair forever. You know, there comes a certain time then where you have to be like, all right, the body might give up. Plus, are you going to be still stimulated as you were at one point? You know, it's about having the open mind to it, I guess. And
absolutely, that's what I was saying before about like just you want your team to succeed. So maybe what you guys might do is bring more people into it. Do you know what I mean? And then slowly peg it back. Who knows? Like
that's the beautiful thing about the education space is like you kind of start to understand other people's thinking patterns. Because as much as we do stuff for everyone else, we're still very much caught up in our own minds. Like we don't understand people's thought patterns until you really teach, I think. You know, like it's all well and good hearing stuff coming out of your client's mouth and like stories but understanding how they think on a deeper level and questioning it, you know. And like, I think the education space gives people the opportunity to open up, and you can really question their thoughts. And it's something that like we're starting to move the needle a little bit within our own team, and it's great. It's great to see it. Like, a few of the boys are starting to think a little bit alternatively, but then, you know, sometimes by the salon owner, that's not necessarily seen as the right thing to do. But it's like, fuck that, I can't go back. That's the way I'm thinking. I can't watch it happen if it's like watching somebody being abused or something, you know. No. I just can't do it. No. But I think, you know, that's the future, is nurturing, like looking after the teams, looking after the people in the industry. It's the only way to keep it moving forward, I think. Showing up is a good example. And
that's it. And I think getting into that space of like, with the clients, sometimes I think that's why education is so good for us, to challenge people's thought processes and learn other people's thought processes. It's kind of hard with clients sometimes for that, you know. I kind of like to dig a bit deeper with clients, but sometimes they're not there for that. They just want to relax. You know, it's a different environment. I think that's right. I was getting a lot of frustration at one point, was just not being able to go deeper on those conversations, you know. But then now in the education space and the podcast space, kind of why we do this. It's really opening that up. So
this is really cool.
Yeah, what would you like, you know, when you finish up, when you hang up the scissors and what would you like people to say about Jamie Furlan, you know? What legacy would you like to leave?
I don't know. I think it's just sort of what you see is what you get, you know what I mean? I'd hope that I inspired enough people. I don't know. You have to ask my team. Like, I'd want them to say, it's such a tough question.
It is a tough question.
I don't know. Like, I think that I've always been approachable, and that I worked my ass off for them as much as they did for me. You know, I just want them to have success ultimately. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like if they succeed, then I've succeeded.
That comes
because
back to your values.
that's a good mentor, isn't it? Like, when they're better than you, then you know.
And that's great. It kind of relates back right full circle to the start. That's maybe from the sport that you did when you were growing up. You know, that team thing.
Yeah.
You know, really bringing everybody together, bringing the team, driving everybody forward.
Yeah.
And that's your values as a person too, I think. You know, that's...
Yeah, like, it's the same. It's like it's no different to like my daughter or to my team. It's like, I want, when they're successful in whatever they choose to do or whatever, you know, they're in, that's enough for me, you know. Like,
it feels good because, you know, you've had a little nudge. You know? That's your little nudge. Like, there you go. I gave you that. Off you go.
Yeah, I think the thing is, I look at them all as my kids. Maybe that's what the secret is. Like, maybe that's what the secret is. Maybe just like, you know, they're all family to me. So,
but you know what's really interesting when I analyze that answer, like, I think, okay, there's two answers there generally from people, and it's like there's the extrinsic and there's the intrinsic, and you went straight for the intrinsic because it's like they're your values. Yeah. Right. So like, you could have. What would you rather? Like, would somebody say, "Oh, Jamie Furlan, you know, really nice guy, really good values, very approachable, you know, lovely fella," or would you prefer, like, you know, 10 times Australian Hairdresser of the Year, but he was a cunt?
Yeah, no, you know? Definitely.
You don't want that.
No, you don't want that.
It doesn't stand for anything, does it?
Because it doesn't really, it doesn't really last. You know, it's how you make people feel. They'll never forget that.
Yes, yeah, and I mean, you want to, like, you know, have touched enough people. You know, that's something that, you know, that means a lot to me. You know.
Oh, that's great.
It's a good question. It's a great question.
Gary Vee always talks about that as well. He says, I always think about my funeral. How many people are going to turn up to my funeral?
Yeah.
And what they say, you know, like...
Yeah. He's like, 300 people turn up to my funeral? Great. He was like, at this point, he's like, I think I'm going to have tens of thousands. But like, look, it's better than just one, you know?
Yes.
Like, I was a dick anyway. You know?
Yeah, and like...
It's the legacy there. So.
Absolutely. That's what you got to think about. And we always end on this question too. So it's the last question.
That was the last one? This is the last one?
Yeah, this is a deep one too.
No deeper.
Little deeper. You want to ask it, Lee?
Go on. You're good at asking it.
Are you happy?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah. I'm ecstatic. Yeah. I'm very happy.
Yeah.
Very happy. It's a good question.
It is a good question. Yeah. It's probably one of the more simple questions in life, but it can be one of the hardest ones to answer.
But you can see it on someone's face if they say yes and they don't mean it as well. Like, I feel 100%. Like, you know, like
100%.
I'm so happy. Like,
that's great.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Love that.
Thank you for this. This has been awesome. My
it's
first
been
podcast.
It's been great to hear your story, and like, you know, I guess it goes a little bit beyond the surface as well with your story, and obviously we have our input throughout the podcast too. But no, it's been an absolute pleasure having you. Thanks for coming down.
Thank you.
We really appreciate it, and we wish you all the best for next week. We'll see you there.
I'll see you there.
We'll be there
at the awards night.
Yep.
Hopefully we'll be able to give you a little toast with our kombuchas at
Yeah,
the
so
end
you're
of the
going
night.
to do kombucha. I'll be on the waters for sure.
Yeah. So thanks, Jamie. Where can people find you online if they want to check out your work?
So Instagram's just at Jamie Furlan.
Yeah.
That's it. that's it.
Very simple.
That's it.
I'm just going to send you a DM for the $15 haircut, mate.
Still holding on to that one.
Done.
Yeah.
Done.
All right. Thanks, Jamie.
Thanks.
Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
bro. Thank you. Cheers.